to Night on the Black Channel. Well, the new Epstein files are out here, folks. Millions of them, apparently. And as I told you all before, oh no, the information is not all out there. It gets uglier. They've been just dripping it. And what they're letting you know is that Jeffrey Epstein compromised the government, the corporations. He compromised everybody. Everyone was in on it, and everyone's been lying, including certain voices that have attempted to be the most passionate, declaring that they were never involved and that it was everybody else. I could go through this meticulously myself, but believe it or not, there are other folks who have as well. So fair use to everyone here. First of all, I'm just going to play a bit of this for you here from CoffeeZilla. As you all know, he's a internet investigative journalist in his own right. And he's going to go over some of this for you here all right now.
I just dropped 3.5 million files, and it is incredible. Huge bombshells about some of the most powerful people on the planet. I can't believe they let some of this stuff out. I mean, it is stunning. Honestly, one of the biggest lies we've seen is the idea that the FBI could possibly come to us and say, not only is there not a client list, there was no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. Guys, we're about to see planned blackmail to one of the most powerful people on the planet, and that is Bill Gates. Listen, there's a lot we're going to get to, but we have to start with probably the craziest revelation here, which is Jeffrey Epstein emailing himself about Bill Gates. Now, if you don't know, Bill Gates and Epstein had a relationship post 2008. That's a big year. You're going to hear a lot today because 2008 was the time that Epstein pled guilty for soliciting of somebody under the age of 18. He was a predator at this point. Everybody knew it. Now, eventually, Bill Gates would get divorced when all of this came out. Melinda Gates said it was part of the direct cause for the divorce. She said she met Epstein and said he was evil.
He was evil personified.
That means that Melinda knew, by the way. One more thing. That means Melinda knew. Folks, 3 million files and counting, 3 million people. If Jeffrey Epstein is no big deal and a nobody and a distraction and all this stuff, please tell me what kind of nobody has 3 million files? Over 3 million. How are you a nobody and there's over 3 million files on you?
You have to understand, this is like Bill Gates' kryptonite. He's one of the richest men on the planet. He's got this huge philanthropy arm. But this relationship with Epstein has been a huge problem for him. And Epstein appears to have known that because in 2013, Bill Gates appears to be distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein seems to have a problem with that. He says, I assume the dedication to our relation went both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to.
Okay, now I want to go a little bit further here because I want to read this part up here. I am aware that accidents happen. It is how each of us has chosen to deal with this unfortunate event that has me dismayed beyond comprehension. You have decided to discharge me from my job. Had Larry, your PR person, tell me that I engaged in morally inappropriate behavior and then asked me to be the major actor in a cover-up so that you can maintain the reputation that you've worked so hard to achieve. Shortly after my critical eye operation, I spent my day having your emails read to me so as not to miss a beat. I wonder who was reading the emails to him. When I could see out of one eye, my first task was to correct my vision in that eye so that I could read them myself. I assumed the dedication to our relation ran both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement and have categorically told me that you were of the firm mind that we should no longer have any direct ongoing business relationship with a total disregard for its impact on the public perception of my reputation. You have requested that I diligently avoid the truth. Tell people that Bill will not invest with me and craft answers that suit yours and Melinda's needs. In fairness, you did agree to send you a letter of recommendation should the future employer ask for one. You've told me that Melinda insists on me ignoring our friendship, not even communicating with you, unless, I guess, someone else is present. So, yeah, folks. Bill Gates' PR person, Larry, is the go-between, and hey, man, you need to fall back on that. And now, folks, please remember, what exactly is it that Jeffrey Epstein did for a living? That the richest man on the planet needed to have, quote, business relationship with him? Bill Gates helped create the modern information era. What in the hell did he need Jeffrey Epstein for? What is it that Epstein did? They talk about he did tax advice. What the hell does Bill Gates need you for tax advice for? What the hell is it that Jeffrey Epstein does for a Bill Gates? Business relationship. What type of business relationship? Oh, don't worry. We'll get to that when we get to Elon Musk. What? Oh, don't worry. When we get to Musk, we'll get to that.
To a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up about his relationship with Bill Gates. And this is where the blackmail starts. And it comes in the form of like, if I were you, I would do X if I were the type of guy that you should be. He says, in that regard, I suggest I buy you the house that you had your heart set on, in addition to 5 years of severance. To a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up about his relationship with Bill Gates. And this.
Lucky for me, I have enough money to mediate a horrible situation, even though we all don't know what you were doing for a living, Mr. Epstein. Though it will not heal the injury, it will make you secure in your future. Remember, this is a letter that Jeffrey Epstein emailed to himself, very obviously addressing Bill Gates, but this is an email that Epstein sent to himself. Now, listen to what this says. Lucky for me, I have enough money to mediate a horrible situation. Though it will not heal the injury, it will make you secure in your future. In addition, I will bend over backwards, I bet, to make sure your next career is rewarding and on an upswing. I appreciate the fact that this event drastically alters your plans and am very aware of the career path you gave up to join the foundation. I am very sorry, but as I believe time heals all wounds, the terrible pain felt currently will eventually pass. In that regard, I suggest that I buy you a house that you had your heart set on. And in addition to 5 years of severance, will buy you out of the investment contract we had agreed, 30 to 40% of $100 million partnership. For $30 million in today's dollars, terms and conditions to be agreed. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. What I did receive, however, was an unfriendly, strongly worded email telling me how unemployable I am and that I should not look to you for any significant financial help in the future. To add insult to injury, as you all saw there before there, to add insult to the injury, you then subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD. Damn! Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda.
Nigga, what?
And the description of things with some Russian females, by the way, don't worry, they'll get to that here in just a moment. I just wanted to read all this part up here because he's about to blur that out. But I want you all to see how we got here.
This is where the blackmail starts, and it comes in the form of like, if I were you, I would do X if I were the type of guy that you should be. He says, in that regard, I suggest I buy you the house that you had your heart set on. In addition to 5 years of severance, we'll buy you out of the investment contract we agreed upon, 30 to 40% of an $100 million partnership for $30 million in today's terms. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. Then he lays out what he has on Bill Gates, or what he says he has. Quote, to add insult to injury, you subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implore me to delete the emails I had regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you could surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your I mean, this is insane. I mean, it's completely insane. It's like basically laying out in text form, I would give me millions of dollars, and I can't believe you're asking me to delete the message where you were going to give STD medication to your wife.
Okay, well, fortunately, in this mock blackmail letter here, fortunately, Bill Gates never succumbed to any of this, never surrendered to any of it, and never gave Jeffrey Epstein a payoff. So, fortunately for Bill Gates' character, we're not about to hear that right after this, Bill Gates decided to give a multi-million-dollar payoff of some sort. Fortunately, we know that's not about to happen. So, CoffeeZilla, proceed.
Without her knowledge. I mean, it's complete. It's crazy. It's just completely obvious what he's doing here. It's just a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Here's what you should do. But now that coming out after Epstein's death, this looks really bad for Gates, obviously, because you usually wouldn't blackmail somebody for something that's completely false or fake. I mean, maybe he did that. But we also know Bill Gates had affairs. Obviously, Melinda credits it for their divorce. So it's hard to believe there was nothing sketchy going on. Bill Gates, of course, maintains that it was completely above board. He says the fact this allegation was in here just shows how much Epstein was willing to defame people. But Epstein lays it out. He says he helped Bill get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls.
Did you all hear that? Let me go ahead and read what this says here. I have decided to resign my position effective immediately with BG3 and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I have not come to this decision quickly or without a great deal of thought. During the past few weeks, I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. What? Auntie, chill. During the past few weeks, I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. Let me just go ahead and stop right here and let you all know how deep this thing goes. And I'm kind of jumping the gun here a little bit, but I have to talk about Israel, the Israeli connection. The Israeli connection on so many different levels. Folks, I need to remind you of a few things here. At the risk of sounding redundant, I have to remind you of a few things here. Do you remember when Jeff Bezos, the other richest man in the world, do you all remember what happened with him? Because it all sounds very familiar, doesn't it? I need to remind you all of something. If you'll remember, Jeff Bezos had been warned. You see, he owned the Washington Post newspaper, and he had been warned by the Saudis, hey, you need to stop kicking up dust about this Khashoggi killing. When we grabbed Khashoggi for talking trash about the prince and chopped him up into pieces at the embassy, you need to quit trying to boss up on us about that. You're talking too damn much. But if you'll all remember, they got at him about his marriage. They said, hey, we found out about your little chick you're seeing down there in South America. Dude, It would be a damn shame if your wife found out, because she gonna cut that fortune of yours in half and you gonna be half the richest man in the world. So we suggest you dummy up and get quiet about that and zip that lip. We can cut your damn fortune in half, dude. Jeff Bezos, I suppose to his credit, did not back down from it, let his subordinates know that he was about to make an announcement and that he would not be blackmailed. Okay, but people, how did the Saudis, how did they find out this information? Well, they found out because they got access to that infamous computer program developed by the Israeli military called Pegasus. Pegasus was created as a software by the IT division of the Israeli military. And they're beefing with the Arabs so bad, the beef between the Israelis and the Arabs is so bad that the Arabs were able to get the Israelis to hack Jeff Bezos' phone. Now, please remember, Jeff Bezos thought that his phone had military encryption and the whole damn 9 yards and was supposed to be unhackable. And yet they were like, oh, hold my beer. This will take us about 3 minutes. So let me get this straight. Every time we turn around, one of these richest men in the world is being either directly or indirectly compromised by Israeli intelligence. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, in a few moments here, Elon Musk. They got documents on all of them. And lo and behold, within less than a decade, two of the richest men on the planet both had their marriages chopped in half, with direct links to Israeli assets, operatives, whatever word you want to name. So I needed to stop here for a moment to put this in its proper context before we got too far along. Just to let you all know that, by the way, here's Jeffrey Epstein saying that I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. This is him saying, yeah, I'm breaking up their damn marriage here. That's right. If I ever drop the damn dime, Bill, if I ever drop the dime, you're going down. And then, of course, we now hear that former President Bill Clinton, when he was cheating with the young Jewish female Monica Lewinsky, rumors that Benjamin Netanyahu let Bill Clinton know, by the way, don't worry, your secret with Monica Lewinsky is safe with me. Don't worry. We know what's going on, and your secret, don't worry about us blabbing anybody. Long as you do right by Israel, we'll make sure we're not going to blab to anybody about that little thing you got going on with Monica Lewinsky. Don't worry about it. Okay. People, we are way past Watergate. The entire United States government and most of corporate America has been co-opted by foreign influences. Sean Ryan, the YouTuber, former SEAL, was on Twitter saying that you've heard of a shell corporation. He said America is like a shell country now. America's a shell country that's run by foreign interests. Foreign countries. They basically stacked your government from top to bottom. They've either stacked people or compromised them and blackmailed them, and now they run them. All their puppet politicians that they have developed over the course of the last 5 decades. This isn't a 1 or 2 decade thing. This is 5 decades. One by one, inch by inch, until you wake up one morning and Yeah, they got to go ahead and make a move, and you're supposed to push the panic button, but it's like, who you pushing that alarm for? Who you pushing that alarm for? So Jeffrey Epstein was saying here, by the way, I'm going to be the end of Bill and Melinda Gates' marriage. You don't want to play ball anymore, Bill? That's cool. We're going to make an example out of you so that everybody else understands if you buck the trend, you go against the grain, you better remember what we did to Bill Gates and what we're going to keep doing to him. I've been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. I have the greatest respect for my friend of 7 years, that's all it took, and wish them both well. In my role as his right hand, I have been asked and wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate to the ethically unsound, and have been repeatedly asked to do things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. Though it was kindly suggested that I make a transition to a new position after my 6 years of servitude, and that Bill would, in his words, give me 2 years severance pay. I feel it would be dishonest to myself and my future. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, Bill Gates, richest man in the world, drug use, Elon Musk, richest man in the world, drug use. Damn! People, you don't want to start putting all these dots together and hear the same thing over and over and over. While they talking about you and crackheads in the hood, and here these folks are at the highest levels, and this is the get down. Jeffrey Epstein's letting you know what the business relationship was. He was the plug. He was the plug for the drugs, the whores, the everything. He was the plug. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls. Consequences. Now, by the way, folks, helping Bill to get drugs, does that mean that he caught some diseases from them? Jeffrey Epstein had the Russian orgies together and Bill messed around bareback and caught something? From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit tryst. That means this is Epstein saying, hell yeah, I hooked it up. With his illicit trysts with married women. Oh, so if Bill don't like whores, don't worry, Jeffrey can help you sleep with some of your friends' wives. Now, you have to understand, to a lifelong super square like Bill Gates, people, this was irresistible. A lifelong nerd and a lifelong geek like Bill Gates, he's never been any female's desired anything. And here comes Jeffrey Epstein, just like with former Commerce Secretary, was the Treasury Secretary, Lawrence Summers, who worked under Bill Clinton. Same thing with Lawrence Summers coming to Jeffrey Epstein for, how do I get these girls over here to like me? Person after person, generation after generation, there's Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm seeing a connection. This is the only thing people come to him for are women. The only thing they come to him for are women and drugs, but especially women. So a bunch of geeky, nerdy dudes, and this guy right here seems to know his way around the chicks, and they can talk to him on the low, and oh well. Facilitating his trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. As I'm a medical doctor but have no prescription writing ability. Okay. So I just wanted y'all to see what the hell was going on with Bill Gates there.
facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, and to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. Look, guys, this is exactly what we suspected the whole time. Epstein was providing services to rich people and expecting payment via blackmail. Now you might say, and it's true, that we don't know that Epstein ultimately sent that version of an email to Gates. All we know is he sent that to himself. He may have planned the blackmail and just been drafting something. But what we do know are two things. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Gates was threatened by Epstein over an affair. We also know that after this blackmail email Jeffrey sent to himself was written, eventually Gates sent a $2 million donation to MIT directed by Jeffrey Epstein, which is a bit weird.
What? Damn! Oh, man. Well,
Email Jeffrey sent to himself was written. Eventually, Gates sent a $2 million donation to MIT directed by Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh. Remember what I said before about, well, fortunately, Bill Gates has too much character and integrity to actually have surrendered and started giving up millions of dollars as a result. Remember when I said that Bill Gates had too much character? Fortunately for us, Bill Gates was too much of a stand-up dude. And by the way, this is just the one you know about. Remember, the real smoking gun, people, is Jeffrey Epstein's bank accounts, which the government has refused to go in and subpoena those so that we can see who paid him what and how much. This is just one you found admitted to in the emails. How many others from a man with billions of dollars in Bill Gates? How much did Jeffrey Epstein bleed off of him?
Which is a bit weird if you had distanced yourself from the guy and y'all had this big falling out. Now again, do we know for sure that Bill Gates did all of that? No, of course we don't. But do I think Bill Gates was innocently looking for charity advice from a after he already pled guilty? No, I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not that gullible. And speaking of not that gullible, we've been lied to also by another richest guy on the planet. Geez, it's a shock why they don't want to put this out. Elon Musk, who has been saying for years that it is a lie that he went to Epstein's island. In fact, he says he refused to go. From Elon, he says, Epstein tried to get me to go to his island. I refused. He says, anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt.
Well, fortunately for all the Fox News goons and Daily Wire weirdos and all the rest of them who have had their lips firmly surgically attached to Elon Musk's butt cheeks ever since he came out as a full white supremacist for MAGA and have defended him at every turn. Fortunately, Elon Musk, who was so vehemently protesting his innocence, Elon Musk, who was pointing out Donald Trump, he's in the Epstein files. And well, Elon is, fortunately for them, a paragon of virtue. A little awkward, maybe a little quirky, but hey, he's telling you right out, Epstein tried to get me to go to his island. He tried to get me to go to his island, and I refused. Well, fortunately for him, nothing in these files is about to come out that puts the lie to that. Because, if Elon knew that there was something in the files that showed the opposite of this, well, he would, I don't know, especially after he said that Donald Trump was in the Epstein files. Well, I mean, if something like that occurred, then Elon would probably have to, I don't know. He would have to start getting back in good with Trump again under the desperate hope that Trump would not release the rest of the files. That Elon figures that they're so buried up in there, how could they possibly have found him? And then realizes, Trump went through it so they can find you too. So yeah, you want to say I was in the files. Well, don't worry. I've had the DOJ go looking to see if you were in there, and Lo and behold, you were. But fortunately, we all know that's not going to be the case. That's not actually going to happen. So Elon can talk all this trash because he's confident that he's not in there, and none of this ever happened. He was asked, he was offered to be taken to the island, and he, showing his character superior morality, refused. Right?
Later responding to another headline which said Elon Musk planned trip to Epstein's private island.
Damn! Oh, well, that died a quick death.
He says anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Later responding to another headline which said Elon Musk planned trip to Epstein's private island. And he says, this is false. But of course, we start to dig through the files, and we can see on Epstein's calendar that Elon Musk is booked in December 6th of 2014.
Oh, folks, don't worry. It keeps going from here. I'm just stopping to show you. Do you see how quickly that fell apart? Maybe if he spent more time thinking and less time doing ketamine, he would have realized, dude, they already got the goods on you.
But maybe you don't believe that. That's just the word of Jeffrey Epstein. But maybe you'll believe the word of Elon Musk, who was caught emailing Jeffrey Epstein to go to his island post the guilty plea. Elon Musk writes, "Will be in BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Good time to visit." Jeffrey Epstein says, "I will send a heli for you."
Now, folks, remember, that was in 2013. Jeffrey Epstein had been indicted for the Florida situation 2008. So by this time, everybody knew what was going on. So this is way after 2008 when he originally got looked into. This is way after that. All the dates that you see on anything in these files after 2008, you don't have plausible deniability anymore. These people asking to talk to him, they knew what he was, knew what he was doing, knew what the charges were. They knew what was happening. And look at this, over half a decade later, and Elon Musk is like, yo, where the party at? And Jeffrey's like, don't worry, I'll send a helicopter for you. After all, I got Bill Gates' money. What? Yeah, Bill Gates done patched me up with a few $1 million. So I can, don't worry, we can take care of it. Don't worry, it's like Uber. I'll send somebody for you.
Will be in BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Good time to visit. Jeffrey Epstein says, "I will send a heli for you." Later, Elon Musk writes to Epstein, probably just to Lula and me, his ex-wife, what day and night would be the wildest party on your island?
Now, folks, if you go back and go take a look at some pictures of him from 14 years ago, you can go take a look at it for yourselves. My point is, does this sound like Jeffrey Epstein invited him to the island and he refused? Because y'all thought I was joking when I said he was like, hey, where the party at? And I'm like, oh, no. He was literally saying, where's the party at? And by the way, he's about to go in for it a whole lot deeper than just asking about the party. He's going to go into details of exactly what kind of party he wants and why. So there are no misconceptions about what Elon Musk was looking for.
Ex-wife, what day and night would be the wildest party on your island? The world's richest man is asking the most pedophile man for the wildest party on his island. And then it gets more explicit. In 2012, remember, this is the guy who said, I refused it. I could never do that, right? It's false. But here in 2012, he says, do you have any parties planned? I've been working to the edge of my sanity this year. I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. The invitation is much appreciated, but a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for. Guys, he can't even play the I went to go study math excuse, which is what all these guys do. They say, hey, I just went to go talk to scientists. Elon's like, hey, I don't want to do that. I'm looking for a party.
Yeah, remember, everybody was talking about Jeffrey Epstein just gives us tax advice. He just gives us tax advice. The richest men in the world are going to a guy who's way down the damn ladder from them, and they're just going for tax advice or business advice. Remember, that's what they all said. Now, when you ask, by the way, what show us some of you all's business conversations? Oh, it's the same damn thing. Don't worry, they're gonna get to the females here in a minute. But I want to read the whole email here for you here, because it said, do you have any parties planned? I've been working to the edge of my sanity this year. And so once my kids head home after Christmas, what? Father of the Year, I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. The invitation is much appreciated, but a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for. The invitation is much appreciated, but I ain't looking to turn down. I'm looking to turn all the way up. Full Diddy! A peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for. Now look what Epstein says in response. Understood. I will see you on St. Barth. The ratio on my island might make Tallulah uncomfortable. Ratio? What would if she's been to parties with Elon, what is it that Epstein is like, yeah, I know what you want. We got so much of it. Maybe that big ass pool that Bill Clinton was in with Ghislaine Maxwell and the other woman. So it's like, oh, don't worry, Elon, I got you, man, I got you. But I don't know if your wife is ready for the get down. We got so much, your wife might not be ready for the way we get down. People, does this sound like Epstein invited Musk and Musk refused? Does this sound like Elon Musk refused? Okay, so it sounds like the date is set. At least he's making it very clear he wants to go there. Y'all tell me whether or not this sounds like he was invited, but he refused. Because these are the emails showing his refusal.
That's what I'm here to do. And then Jeffrey Epstein writes, understood, I will see you on St. Barth. The ratio on my island might make your ex-wife uncomfortable. I can't believe these guys are lying to us and people are swallowing it still, thinking that Elon Musk had nothing to do with this guy. So again, that's 2012. That's 2014. But guess what? There's another time in 2013. I mean, this seems like a yearly thing with the boys. Here, once again, Elon Musk writes, we'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Again, is there a good time to visit? Jeffrey Epstein, any day, 1st to the 8th, play it by ear if you want, always space for you. They then plan some more, and you might think, well, if Elon ever told the truth.
So you saw there, Epstein is like, hey, anytime, just let me know. Holla at your boy. Let me know something. We'll work you in. We'll fit you in. We got to get you around Bill Clinton and Bill Gates over here. I mean, I got lots of space, but I don't want y'all just running into each other if there's beef. But we'll squeeze you in.
This is when he has to reject, right? Because he said, I refused. But actually, it appears to be one of those cases where, like, your friend says, like, oh, bro, I dumped her. And actually, it was the other way. Yeah, it turns out Elon didn't dump the The dumped Elon. He says, bad news. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York.
Now, folks, this is Epstein. This is Epstein responding to Elon. Elon had said, actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. Now, you just heard where Epstein said, by the way, I think from the 1st to the 8th or whatever, for 1st to the 8th, and Elon is letting him know so you can play it by ear. And Elon says, well, actually, I could fly back early on the 3rd. We will be in St. Bart's. When should we head to your island on the 2nd? So Elon is like, hey, let's link up. I'm the richest man in the world, got my own jet. I can fly back early on the 3rd. We'll be in St. Bart's. When should we head to your island? On the 2nd? And then something must have happened because Jeffrey Epstein says bad news. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. Hey, where did Epstein always like to see Ehud Barak, the former head of the Israeli military and former prime minister of Israel? Where was he seeing Ehud Barak? Oh yeah, New York. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. Yeah. He would see a lot of people in New York, so it might not just be Ehud. So I'm remembering Ehud off the top of my head, but there was a lot of folks. He had a lot of traffic at his New York home. You know, Epstein had a lot of traffic there. Remember, there was a lot going on, a lot of traffic around the place. Basically, so he was very much in demand, even after 2008. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. I was really looking forward to finally spending some time together with just fun as the agenda, so I'm very disappointed. Hopefully, we can schedule another time in the near future. And now when you see those pictures of Epstein with all those people around his table, all those folks sitting around his table, Ehud Barak and Sergey Brin and all those folk for that get together, you see that and it's like, So maybe that was part of the schedule in New York. It's kind of ominous now. Yeah, I can't hang out with you in the BVI, British Virgin Islands, or St. Bart's. I'm up here in New York. We got a little get together to take care of. But once I get done with that, I'll holler at you.
Hopefully we can schedule another time in the future. Jeffrey Epstein let Elon down. That's actually the real story. Is the reason he didn't go in 2013 was because he couldn't go. Jeffrey Epstein was not there. Guys, I mean, how blatant do they have to make it before we start to just see through it, right? When they issue these ridiculous denials, they're totally associated with the guy after the guilty plea. They lie through their teeth, but they can't even keep their story straight. I mean, that's what's crazy. They're not even competent at this. They get caught in their own lies all the time. Remember, the FBI's official story was they didn't blackmail. Well, before we even had these files, Howard Lutnick was on the record calling Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever.
So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Interesting. Okay, so Howard has a different perspective. Now, if you don't know, that guy, do you think he's just telling the truth there? Even this guy who's contradicting the official narrative, this guy literally lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy who's like, I'm going to tell the truth. Those guys participated. That guy lives next to Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, he lied too. I love this video we're about to get into because this guy, Mr. He's the greatest blackmailer ever, does he know something we don't know? Because it's interesting. Mr. I'm his neighbor had to also explain how he had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And he lays it out pretty simply. He goes, yep, I lived next to him, but in 2005, I had such a horrible experience that I knew I could never talk to him again.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
We move in 2005, okay? Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 2008, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. And there's a massage table in the middle of the room. Massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage.
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Well, Mr. Lutnick, now part of the second Trump administration, we're so glad to hear that like Elon Musk, you too are a paragon of virtue, and you would never want to. You saw early on, well before anybody else, you immediately identified the signs of this pervert and deviant degenerate, and therefore your stern character and moral fortitude could not stand to be in his presence. You saw it early, and just the first whiff of it was all you needed to see, and from there you cut him off from the very beginning. Why, you didn't have to wait until 2008. You were done with Epstein in 2005. As you just said, 2005. And you decided we're never going to deal with this guy again, simply because of what he seemingly inferred from a massage. So glad that the new files will not show that you had direct contact with Jeffrey Epstein way after 2008, much less 2005. So glad about that. Right?
Well, he couldn't be more clear, could he, right? He says, hey, I may have been his next door neighbor, but I met him once before the 2008 guilty plea. Remember I said that was a big deal. And we got invited over, and it was like 5 seconds, and we left, and we realized he was a creep. We were out of there. He made this rude, lewd comment in front of my wife. I would never go see this guy. I mean, he makes it super clear he's gross.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
These other guys, they may have participated.
They participated.
But Howard Lutnick, he could never. No. He's too good of a guy. Well, guess what we found in the old emails? Looky. It's Howard Lutnick writing in to Jeffy Boy in 2012.
Damn!
So much for moral integrity in 2005. And as he pointed out, Epstein had been arrested in 2008. Well, 4 years later, clearly Howard wasn't holding much of a grudge. Hey, Jeff! Not Mr. Epstein. Not Jeffrey. Jeff. We are landing, boy, these planes, y'all. These people with their private planes. You want to know why it is that private planes are so important to these people? You think it's just a hobby. You think it's being eccentric that they demand to have their own ability to fly. And now the world is finding out why these people insist on having, of all the perks they could have, all of them are insisting on having their own planes. Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early Saturday afternoon and planning to head over to St. Bart's. What? Back to St. Bart's again, people. St. Bart's was the hookup spot. Where are you located? What is exact location for my captain? So in other words, the folks flying these planes know things too. Hey y'all, it's not just these men's wives. The people flying those planes, they know things too. Some of you who have worked in the airline industry, especially if you've dealt with executive service or private planes, by the way, what did y'all see? What did the captain see? These people know things. I want to advise you all of something. Don't let anybody lie to you and tell you that there's no way that this could be a conspiracy because there are too many people and somebody would talk. Don't you fool yourself. There are all kinds of things that go on in this world that involve several dozens or hundreds of people and nobody says a word. Do not deceive yourself into thinking, well, surely 20 people couldn't all keep their mouths shut. Man, you're naive. You are naive. You got a whole bunch of things in this world that happen involve dozens of people and nobody says a word. You walk in the room, everybody knows what the truth is except the new fruit booty just walked in. You're the only one who doesn't know. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily require NDAs, although those help. But the real thing is, nah, they in the life, man. Remember, folk don't start squealing till the feds show up. They are in the life. They are about that business and they are in that life. People, other than Barry Seal with Pablo Escobar, man, you ain't heard from anybody who was flying them drug planes. Now, you know that there were literally hundreds of those planes getting flown. You haven't heard from any of the pilots. We know they were all white. We know they were all white males. Man, you ain't heard nobody sitting up here running their mouth and flipping their gums. We're talking about decades of drug trafficking that continues to this day. And ain't nobody talking. We're talking about the drug trade, DEA, FBI, all over it. Nobody's talking. Now, you consider a much smaller circle like this? Oh, no, you ain't going to find out if nobody is talking in gigantic drug cartels and you think that well, surely somebody would speak. Okay, you're naive. There are plenty of things and plenty of organizations and plenty of conspiracies and schemes where folk get together all the time, hundreds or dozens or hundreds of people, and ain't nobody saying nothing. And this is your proof. By the way, he's like, does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? I have another couple, Michael and Marcy Lerman, with me on my boat. So planes, trains, and boats, y'all. And each of us has 4 children, 2 16, 2 14, a 13, a 12, an 11, and a 7-year-old. Thanks, Howard. So he wants Jeffrey to know how many people are showing up. And now it seems like he said each of us has 4 children. So I guess he wants to bring the kids with him. He wants to bring the children with him to Epstein Island. I don't think that CoffeeZilla zeroes in on this part here. You can see the ages. Y'all see the ages. This is right up Epstein's alley. So they have loaded up. They have loaded up the boat and the plane with 8 minors and said we were on our way to Epstein Island. At best, I would characterize this as very poor judgment. I'm gonna just stop there and just say, well, at the best case scenario is that this is incredibly poor judgment. We're not even going to get into what the worst could be.
Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early afternoon, planning to head over. Where are you located? What's the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? Is this the guy you said made a lewd comment to your wife and, oh, I could never be in front of him. He's gross. Guess what the next email is? My boy's wife messaging in saying we're headed towards you in St. Thomas. Later, the subject line, Jeffrey Epstein. Good morning, Howard. Jeffrey wished me to pass you along. Nice seeing you. They clearly met and the guy is just lying about it to your face, to the American public's face, and they tried to hide it from us. I cannot emphasize this enough. They're lying through their teeth. You think this guy perfectly remembers a 2005, like walking in the guy's house? I remember exactly what I said to him. My wife and I looked at each other, and he wouldn't remember the 2012. I boated over to his private island for a dinner. Is that what we're really thinking? Is that what we're expected to believe? This is a momentary lapse in his judgment. No, these guys don't even care about being consistent. And they're all throwing each other under the bus. Don't you remember Elon Musk saying the time to drop the really big bomb? Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. My guy
You saw what he said there?
They're about being consistent, and they're all throwing each other under the bus. Don't you remember
Elon Musk. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Bit of an understatement, ain't it, Elon? Very prophetic on your part, although it did not take a prophet nor a crystal ball. But yeah, Elon, the truth was coming out all right. Mark this post. Oh, we did. Oh, we did. You're going to wish we hadn't. Folks, lay off the ketamine before you take to Twitter. Lay off the ketamine before you went to Twitter. You might say some stuff that does not age well at all.
Musk saying the time to drop the really big bomb, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. My guy, you also are in the Epstein files, very clearly doing stuff you lied about, okay? So is Howard Lutnick, who says, yeah, Bill Gates, he's probably getting blackmailed because he participated. What did you do on the island over in 2012, Howard? Do we know that? I mean, does anyone care? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some of the most explosive stuff. It's also, again, I have to say, unverified, okay? This is the NTOC, the FBI.
And this is from, various witnesses who claim, various anonymous witnesses or, folk who can't step forward to say, hey, they were doing stuff with us. So, yeah, that was going on. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is from Whitney Webb. She was talking to Brianna Joy, and Whitney Webb, she does a lot of investigation of her own. And right now, that's what we're left with because the corporate outlets have all been co-opted, or should I say they're not co-opted. They're all wings of this conspiracy. The New York Times, the LA Times, they should, folks, with millions of files, shouldn't the New York Times be having a breaking news special edition coming out literally every hour? Now, how is it that it falls to a few citizen journalists out there with the outrageous amount of resources, allegedly, that the New York Times has? The incredible number of resources, financial resources, manpower resources, sources resources that the New York Times has cultivated over the course of over a century. And yet, the New York Times isn't breaking news on the Epstein files every hour on the hour. It's fallen to some YouTubers and citizen journalists, but the biggest, most well-financed, well-resourced news operations on the planet aren't finding anything to talk about. They have a story that they just did here today, and literally it's just a few paragraphs. Now, how is it that the largest, most well-financed, most well-resourced, most well-operated news outlets on the planet with literally billions of dollars at their disposal and thousands of sources, and yet they don't know anything but some YouTubers do? Man, don't y'all see this isn't a conspiracy anymore? This is just a fact. They are all in on it, including the New York Times, LA Times, Chicago Tribune. They're all in on it. All of them. They're not just compromised, they're a part of it. I'm telling you all, they're not compromised, they are part of it. They're co-conspirators. That's what they are, is co-conspirators. There's no way that you have the pedigree of the New York Times and you ain't able to crack all this information. Why is it that they don't have the banking files from Jeffrey Epstein? There's no legitimate reason why they don't have every detail imaginable unless they're in on it too. The only way that they're this quiet is, they're in on it too. Now, I want you to hear what Whitney had to say here, because I thought that this was rather interesting.
But Flavio Briatore has a few unusual links to the Epstein case, which I explore here. And one of them has to do with the Black Book itself. The Black Book is this book of contacts that are Epstein's, but Epstein didn't necessarily write it. His staff wrote it. And so it wasn't just one staff member. It was a few members of his staff in his Palm Beach residence that compiled this list of contacts. But it was deemed legitimate enough to be used as evidence in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial a couple years ago. So it's considered to give it was then considered to give a relatively accurate portrayal of the time of sort of, frequently contacted figures in Epstein's world during,
I mean, do you see this who's who list? Prince Andrew, Ehud Barak, Ken Starr, Peter Thiel. I mean, you see this. Noam Chomsky, Lawrence Summers, Steve Bannon, Woody Allen. Do you see? And by the way, this ain't even close to comprehensive, not even close.
The particular period of time that the Palm Beach case in particular spanned. And so that book became public. Well, it was originally published and made actually public by the investigative journalist Nick Bryant, who's also known for investigating the Franklin scandal, which is sort of a Reagan-Bush era pedophile scandal involving government officials. And he published that.
Just in case you all thought this was new or that Jeffrey Epstein was the only operator. Yeah, just in case you all thought this is something that just came up in the last decade or so. Oh, no, this goes back way before now. And Epstein was not and is not the only operator.
At Gawker, I believe in 2015, but he came into possession of it sometime, I think around 2012 or so, he said. But prior to that, the FBI obtained it from Jeffrey Epstein's former butler, Alfredo Rodriguez, who died the same year it was published in 2015. But earlier, he had tried to basically sell the Black Book, initially to one of the victims' lawyers, Brad Edwards, who works with Stanley Pottinger. I forget the name of their law firm, but they're two of the main Epstein lawyers. And so instead of buying the book, I mean, obviously it's fair that he wouldn't pay the large sum that Rodriguez was asking for it. But Edwards instead tipped off the FBI, basically sicked the FBI on this guy. And the FBI set up a sting operation to buy the book from him, and Rodriguez went to prison, which later Epstein, when he was asked about it, said about the Black Book, he was like, it never should have been published. It was terrible that it was published, but now my butler, or, my former butler is in prison for, the crime of publishing it. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. That's not a direct quote, but that.
Everybody who goes to prison or whatever, next thing you know, they turn up dead. Yeah, the mortality rate around Jeffrey Epstein is staggering. I'm sure that we're all just a bunch of delusional conspiracy theorists and there's nothing to it, and all this math, everybody around it and stuff, they just drop like flies. All this math is just all of us being delusional and conspiratorial. Yeah, that's what that is, by the way.
That was essentially what he was saying. So he agreed with, Rodriguez being put away. And it's important to point out that Epstein was an FBI informant during this period. There may have been some duplicity there, but again, I don't know. But what's important here is that Rodriguez, and when he tried to shop this book around, he circled names that he said were co-conspirators and material witnesses to Epstein's sex trafficking crimes. So Flavio Briatore is one of the circled names. Alan Dershowitz is a circled name. Leslie Wexner, Jean-Luc Brunel, who is the French accomplice of Epstein that died in prison while awaiting trial in 2022. And then Donald Trump is also a circled name, which oddly enough hasn't really gotten a lot of coverage over the years. Nick Bryant, of course, talked about that, but a lot of people act like Trump was never accused. And then Brad Edwards later went out and said to Derek Brose when he was interviewed by him that Trump had actually been very helpful. But of course, Trump and Epstein at that point had a personal falling out. And also Brad Edwards' law partner, Stanley Pottinger, has kind of a suspect history, sort of acting like the Democrat equivalent of William Barr, which is basically basically a mop-up man for government scandals over the course of his lengthy career as a lawyer working on behalf of the government and the Department of Justice. So,
do you all see how long this list gets? Do y'all see how long it gets? Well, are they saying anything over there at the New York Times? Well, as a matter of fact, in all candor, they are. The New York Times has actually said something. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the screen so that you all can see this. I want you to see it for yourselves here and then ask yourselves a question. This is from the New York Times here. This is what they have to show, and I'm just showing you all so that you can see. I'm not making this up as I go along. Sale ends soon, but the truth is already ended. And I'm going to show you this article here. As you can see, powerful men who turned up in the new batch of Epstein files. So Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump, they're showing their pictures. Now, I want to go down here. I want you to take a look and see, okay, they show President Trump and they do a section about him. That section's not very long now, is it? Do you all see how short this section is? Okay, and that's it on the Bill Gates. All right, well, maybe they got more information about Bill Gates. Wow, the section on Bill Gates was even shorter than the section on Trump. Okay. Howard Lutnick. All right, wow, okay, very brief paragraph on him. Sir Richard Branson. Okay, paragraph on him. Kind of short there too. Elon Musk. All right, maybe we'll get some. Wow, okay, that ended quickly. Elon Musk. Just a few sentences about him. Steve Tisch of the New York Giants. A few paragraphs about him. Prince Andrew. Okay, do you all see how short these sections are about each of these people? Do you see how short this is? They're not saying anything. The biggest, most well-financed so-called news operations on the planet, the pulse of American democracy, and they're not saying anything. You found out a hell of a lot more from Whitney Webb than you did from them. Sergey Brin, because we wouldn't want Google to be left out. Now, folks, I did this for a reason. I want you to hear something here. Now, they're talking about the new files that came out that you just heard CoffeeZilla talking about. Now, when you heard everything that CoffeeZilla just said, let's see how much information you get from the New York Times. Let's talk about Bill Gates. Now, you heard everything that CoffeeZilla just said about Bill Gates, everything that I added to it. Well, here's what the New York Times had to say. Of all that stuff y'all just read, here's what they said. According to released emails, Mr. Epstein drafted notes to and about Mr. Gates in 2013, suggesting that he engaged in extramarital sex. A representative of Mr. Gates called the accusations absolutely absurd and completely false. Dude, you got divorced. In one email, Mr. Epstein wrote that he had helped Mr. Gates acquire drugs, quote, in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, and that he had facilitated rendezvous for Mr. Gates with married women. It was not clear if Mr. Epstein ever sent the emails to Mr. Gates. Mr. Epstein wrote the messages about Mr. Gates not long after his attempt to broker a venture between Mr. Gates' foundation and JP Morgan fizzled out, depriving Mr. Epstein of what he had hoped would be a gusher of income. And that's it. They're done. I just read for you all everything the New York Times said. Now that you all heard what CoffeeZilla said, do you realize how much information is lost? Now, this is the damn New York Times. Only they look like the New York cover-up. That's not accidental. There's no way in the world that one of the longest running journalistic papers in America could do this by mistake. These are the people who go around lecturing other people about what journalism is. They didn't leave all that information out because they were trying to be brief. They left it out because they're in on the cover-up. They're in on it. These are their peeps. These are their people. You heard what CoffeeZilla, all the details CoffeeZilla dropped and gave you there. And when you come to the New York Times, you get none of that. They didn't mention anything about him hitting them up for money, about him slipping. Oh, I was responsible for giving you drugs for Melinda Gates. They would have been a whole lot better just showing the screenshot of that email. And no, they don't show the screenshot of the email. They don't say anything about it. They just give you a couple of minor details and keep moving and left most of it on the cutting room floor. That's not accidental. Howard Lutnick, you heard what CoffeeZilla and I just showed you about Howard Lutnick. What do they say? Now remember, the New York Times will be these hardcore liberals, and they're always at odds with Trump and the right-wing Gestapo of the Trump administration. Right? New York Times. The files revealed that Mr. Lutnick, now the Commerce Secretary, planned a visit to Mr. Epstein's island in 2012, though he previously said he severed ties with Mr. Epstein around 2005. Reached by phone on Friday, Mr. Lutnick said he could not comment about the island visit because he had not seen the latest Epstein documents. Quote, I spent zero time with him, Mr. Lutnick said. He then hung up. The documents suggest the visit did occur. The gathering was set for December 23, 2012. A day later, an assistant to Mr. Epstein forwarded Mr. Lutnick a message from Mr. Epstein, quote, nice seeing you, it said. Folks, you know that they actually said more than that. They said more than that. So I just want you to be aware that, by the way, they said more than that. And the New York Times removed whole swaths of it. Information about the kids, the captain, the specificity of it. The New York Times said, yeah, y'all don't worry, that y'all don't need to see that. That's unnecessary detritus, unnecessary details. In the chat room, y'all need to stick to the names I'm talking about here. If you go off on side missions of your own, you're going to be given some time out here. So this is not your time to be doing that. Now, you know, when things like this happen, folks want to start, hey, look at me. Not a good time for you. Bad idea. Bad idea. So for folks in here, I would recommend that you stay on topic for it. Bad idea. Take some time off here to think it over, but if you want to talk about different things, not the time. We got names over here that are confirmed, no speculation required. Sir Richard Branson, well, you get that. Elon Musk, now you all just heard all the details that they went into here for Elon Musk. You all just heard all of it. What does the New York Times give you? Mr. Epstein and Mr. Musk exchanged multiple messages between 2012 and 2014, comparing their schedules to find time to meet in Florida or in the Caribbean, according to the documents. Quote, if you find some time, come visit me on my island in the Caribbean, Mr. Epstein wrote to Mr. Musk on September 25th, 2012, urging the billionaire to, quote, bring your friend or friends. Quote, sounds good. We'll try to make it, Mr. Musk replied. Over the years, the technology entrepreneur has denied visiting the disgraced financier's island. In a social media post in September, Mr. Musk wrote that Epstein, quote, tried to get me to go to his island and I refused. But several emails showed that Mr. Musk backed out of plans that the two men had made. Mr. Musk wrote on Saturday in a post on X, the social media site he owns, quote, I had very little correspondence with Epstein and declined repeated invitations to go to his island or fly on his Lolita Express, but was well aware that some email correspondence with him could be misinterpreted and used by detractors to smear my name. Do you all realize they left out everything? Now, you heard from me and CoffeeZilla what was actually released, and the New York Times, who certainly has unlimited space on their website to give you all the sordid details, and they just left all of that out. Now, those details are essential because that puts all of this in the new light so that you have all the information that you need necessary to make a decision. And the New York Times is even scrubbing this for Elon Musk. You don't think they're all in on it together and one hand washes the other? The only folk you're getting information from are on YouTube or on social media, your corporate media outlets with all their billions of dollars of largesse. And they're showing you that they're co-conspirators. Steve Tisch. Mr. Epstein exchanged multiple messages throughout 2013 with Mr. Tisch, a co-owner of the New York Giants football team. In some of the exchanges, Mr. Epstein appeared to be connecting Mr. Tisch with women of specific ethnicities and described their bodies in vulgar terms. So that's what the New York Times is worried about. You're not showing proper respect to the sluts. All right. On more than one occasion, Mr. Tisch used slang terms to ask Mr. Epstein if a woman he was describing was a sex worker. In one of those exchanges in April 2013, Mr. Epstein asked Mr. Tisch to send him his phone number because he did not want a record of the conversations. Folks, the New York Times is not giving you any details. Vulgar terms, what the hell is that? The New York Times is a bunch of mamby-pamby idiots over there. Their definition of vulgar might not be yours. They're not going into any details about any of this. They're still running interference and protection. So the whole reason nobody wants the files to get out is because they want to protect all these important people. And the New York Times is showing you, you damn right we're protecting all the important people right in front of you. In the statement, Mr. Tisch said, quote, "We had a brief association where we exchanged emails about adult women, and in addition, we discussed movies, philanthropy, and investments. I did not take him up on any of his invitations and never went to his island. As we all know now, he was a terrible person and someone I deeply regret associating with." Okay, is that what you all got from this? So the New York Times is just showing you that the old corporate media journalism is dead. If you go to them to not learn anything or to be misled, you don't go to them to find out anything. Prince Andrew, we already know about that. Sergey Brin. Mr. Brin, the co-founder of Google and one of the richest men in the world, visited Epstein's private island near St. Thomas, made plans to dine at Mr. Epstein's Upper East Side home, and corresponded with Ghislaine Maxwell, Mr. Epstein's longtime companion, according to the documents released on Friday. Quote, "Dinners at Jeffrey's are always happily casual and relaxed," Miss Maxwell wrote to Mr. Brin in April 2003. "Look forward to seeing you. It has long been known that Mr. Epstein introduced executives at J.P. Morgan to Mr. Brin, whose net worth exceeds $250 billion, helping the bank land him as a client. Mr. Epstein introduced executives at J.P. Morgan to Mr. Brin, helping the bank land him as a client. What in the hell is Jeffrey Epstein's expertise that someone would say, I want to be part of that bank because Jeffrey Epstein recommended it? How did he help land Brin as a client? And what relationship did he have with J.P. Morgan to have all these executives, all these salespeople, all these financial specialists, and they're going to Jeffrey Epstein to convince Sergey Brin to be a client of their bank? People explain to me how the hell that makes any sense. What did Jeffrey Epstein really do for a living? Part-time contractor to J.P. Morgan? What the hell sense does this make? It doesn't make any sense at face value. It makes perfect sense if it's like, they were discussing more than banking. Their relationship goes beyond banking. Now, that would seem to make more sense. The real question is, what beyond banking did you do? Sarah Ransom, one of Mr. Epstein's accusers, claimed in court documents in 2024 that she had met Mr. Brin and his then fiancée, Anne Wojcicki, on Mr. Epstein's island, which was the center of his sex trafficking operation for many years. One of Mr. Epstein's former boat captains told the New York Times earlier this year that he had seen Bryn on the island more than once. Of course, Bryn and Miss Wojcicki did not respond to requests for comment, and the New York Times is done. Now, that was all they had to say about all those people. And in the meanwhile, deleted all the necessary information. And they would have you believe that they are the newspaper of record and that they are a reliable source of information for anything. You come here to be lied to by them. You do not come here to find out anything. You come here to be lied to. They are all in on it. And just like the president and Elon Musk and everybody else is covering up for what Jeffrey Epstein really was and really did, the New York Times is showing you that they are a part of it and they are a part of the cover-up. They're part of it too. In case you all were wondering how far this really goes, I'll go a little bit further with you here. This is one in particular. I won't play it for you. I think it's self-explanatory. Breaking: Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was it who went to go see Ghislaine Maxwell in prison, just admitted the DOJ excluded images showing, quote, death, physical abuse, or injury from today's Epstein files release. Let that sink in. The government is acknowledging graphic evidence exists and chose to withhold it while redacting names tied to Jeffrey Epstein and his powerful associates, including Donald Trump. Now, let me say, so far, they did show where Jeffrey Epstein had like a mannequin or something that was being lynched. So you all can go look that up if you want to. It's for the stuff like a mannequin being lynched and things like that. So if whether or not that's what they're referring to, I'm not 100% certain. What I am saying is release all the damn files and we'll make up our minds for ourselves. The entire government has been co-opted from top to bottom. People, when we were children, we were being warned about a Manchurian candidate. We don't have a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian government. You have an entire Manchurian government hand-picked and hand-selected by the most depraved group of deviant degenerates on the planet, and at least one, if not three, foreign countries that have stacked your government from the top to the bottom with their operatives, so that you are the plantation that finances all of them. We do not have a government. We have a puppet establishment masquerading as a government. It has been totally co-opted from the bottom to the top. The usual trope that we would say, the government's owned by the corporations. Oh, the politicians are all bought off. Man, that was the nice version of it. It goes way beyond that. I mean, this is invasion of the body snatchers. And they've already got everybody. And here's the thing. They didn't just get them last year. They've had them now for decades. They've had them locked down for decades. You have a completely illegitimate government. And by the way, one more thing, folks, I'm not talking about it just the federal level. I'm talking about the state level, the local level. The government has been completely co-opted locally, state, federal, international. If you ever told yourself that, well, pedophiles and sexual deviants and degenerates, they would be too busy trying to get turned up to sit up here and do something this big and large, they could never become financially affluent enough to do that. And I'm like, you don't understand how that works. They want as much money as possible so that they can be as depraved as they want to be. And what they've done is stack your government with every lowlife that they could imagine. They have grabbed by the way, that's just the males. What about the females? I mean, the females are just as bad. I've already gone over that. I mean, you basically got to be a slut to get in the government today at the federal level. You basically have to be one. All the chicks y'all can name, crazy sexual histories. Crazy. The only thing keeping any of them safe is nobody making a lawsuit. As soon as they're not around anymore, here comes your lawsuit. Ain't that right, Kirsten Sinema? And then you're finding out all kinds of things. That's not accidental for the problem to be this pervasive, people, for the problem to be this widespread. That ain't an accident. That's not an exception to the rule. That is the rule. And they got them all. I want to go on the record tonight. I said it before, but I want to say it again here tonight. No. I am not convinced that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. When you got a man who knows this damn much on this many damn people for this damn long, and he kept this many records, hell no, I am not convinced he's dead. With all these people being so blatantly deceptive, they're lying to us every day. Why the hell are y'all jerking us around all this damn? You're lying every day. Hell no. The only thing they all agree on, well, he's dead. They're like, okay, yeah. This fella is too damn important to leave walking the streets. And if they are this afraid of him dead, what did he know alive? So hell yeah, they're this terrified of him and he's already dead? Yeah, this guy, all he needs to do is make a phone call in the chat room, the real blacklist. I mean, Red Reddington ain't got nothing on Epstein. But yeah, this would be a real life Red Reddington. After seeing this, you can understand Jeffrey Epstein, especially through Alan Dershowitz. He just makes a phone call. Hey, y'all gonna have to get me up out of here. Y'all gonna have to just get me up out of here. I don't care how sloppy it looks. I don't care how blatant it looks. I ain't doing no time like this. Y'all gonna have to get me up out of here. Or else files gonna start dropping. So what's it gonna be? Okay, well, Jeffrey, we're gonna have to put you in prison because we need to get you away from the general population, but you've been blown, man. You've been blown. Your cover's completely blown. So like the CIA, we're gonna have to put in a burn notice. We're gonna have to burn your identity, bruh. You got to go. You gotta go. You got to go underground. Everybody else going to be quiet, but you got to go underground. We're going to send you to Israel. We're going to smuggle you out to prison, send you to Israel. We're going to have you get a plastic surgeon. What? We are going to redo your face. We're going to get you a plastic surgeon. We're going to redo your face. We're going to redo your eyes. We're going to give you the whole damn 9 yards. And Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Hello, Jeffrey Rubenstein. Hello, Jeffrey Goldstein. But Jeffrey Epstein dies today. You are just too hot to handle to stay alive. You got to go. You know too much. You know too much. No, I am not at all convinced that Jeffrey Epstein is dead based on how these people are treating him. You don't treat a dead man like this. You don't keep millions of files on a Mr. Nobody. Folks, if all he was running was underage girls for sex, we've been dealing with this for decades. Ain't nobody before now had millions of files for cases prosecuted at the state level, and here come the feds. Don't worry, we'll take over from here. Why? Why do you need to take over? And that's because, yeah, this is bigger than y'all, so yeah, we ain't doing that. Epstein is one of ours. We ain't gonna talk about it. That's what Alex Acosta said when he was originally asked. Intelligence said Epstein is with them. Folks, that was all you needed to hear. When a U.S. attorney tells you Epstein, intelligence told him that Epstein is with them, that was it right there. That's all you needed to know. He's mobbed up with intelligence. That was all you needed to know. Right there. No, he's going to have to disappear at some point, along with the rest of them. I told y'all this before about One Nation Under Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is basically in witness protection now. He's basically in witness protection. You send him to Israel because our good buddies, the Israeli government, remember, non-extradition. Damn. Folks, remember, in Israel, there's Jewish pedophiles have been leaving America for decades going to Israel. I'm not breaking news. This has been a story now for decades. If you are Jewish and you can flee to the Jewish state if you commit a sex crime, they'll hold it down for you. They've been doing that for decades now. All kinds of warrants on all kinds of folks sitting in Israel right now. Israel will protect you. Okay. Because they see themselves as it's us against the world. So Jeffrey Epstein would not be the first pedophile sitting in Israel getting state protection. He wouldn't be the first, people. He wouldn't be the 100th. Now, that's not a conspiracy. That's not tinfoil hat. That's not making it up. This is a judicial fact. If you didn't know that, you need to do a lot of Googling. You way behind. But, they hold it down for you in Israel. If you're Jewish, they hold it down for you. The state is behind you. They don't give a damn what you did to the Goyim out there. You come on over here and you're on safe ground. And you're going to tell me that you don't believe that they did that for Jeffrey Epstein? And I already told y'all, but folks, they smuggled Sammy the Bull Gravano out of prison. Remember? They smuggled Sammy the Bull out of prison. When he said he wanted to cooperate with the feds, that was it. They smuggled him out right then, right there. Jeffrey Epstein was too damn high profile. Okay, bro, you're going to have to be dead. People, remember the police when they're running sting operations, they do, dead folk for sting operations all the time. You all have seen it. Somebody takes out a contract with a hitman. The hitman is an undercover agent. They show him photographs of the spouse dead. The spouse is sitting there like, yeah, finally got that nigga. The cop is just sitting there with him. Yeah, you got him. They've been doing that for decades, man. And you telling me what the feds won't do? Okay, so let me get this straight. You're willing to accept that on YouTube, you have CIA agents giving interviews about they have ultra realistic masks. They have face masks that are ultra realistic. So you'll accept that. You'll believe that the CIA has agents that they give ultra realistic face masks to that look just like your real face talking. You'll believe that, but you don't believe that that was not Jeffrey Epstein's face coming out on that gurney and from that prison. You know what these people are capable of. You're just telling me they wouldn't do something. Yeah, Jason, I know everything you're saying is right, and they got the ability to do all those things, but they would never do that. No, man. And what I'm saying is now you've been co-opted. Just understand when they got you admitting, yeah, I know they can do all of that, but I still don't believe it. Well, that's the whole point. You being in denial, even after you concede, I know they can do all these things. They would not do it for this guy. He has ignited an international firestorm. They are lying through their teeth every time they show up. They're terrified of this man, even quote unquote in death. And I got to tell y'all right now, why would they still be acting like this if the man was dead? People, is this the way you act when someone is dead? Or is this the way you act when someone is alive and you need to keep them quiet? That they don't feel the need to speak anymore. Ask yourself, be honest with yourself for a few moments here. Put in your thinking cap. Is this the way you treat somebody who is dead? Or are all these people so terrified and covering up and all these crazy lies they're telling? Is that the way you speak about a guy who's dead and can't speak anymore? Or is that the way you treat somebody who is very much alive and he could actually start talking if he really wanted to? But you need to make sure he doesn't have a reason to. And doesn't that sound familiar? Like Ghislaine Maxwell. A woman, by the way, y'all, they're treating her the same way. You notice they're not dropping any more dimes on her. Did you get that? Ain't nobody snitching on Ghislaine anymore. No more snitching, no more name dropping, no more evidence dropping, no witnesses. The witnesses are not talking about her, in case you didn't notice. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. You figure that these females who claim they're all witnesses would at least be talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in prison, and yet they're not talking about her either. People, this ain't just one person. In case y'all didn't notice, they're not saying nothing about her too. Let me guess. That's reaching too, right? You reaching. Did I say anything that was factually inaccurate? No, you're right. But you're reaching. It's like, okay, they got you talking silly. I'm not saying that he is alive. I'm saying that you have not convinced me that he's dead based on how these people are acting about him. This ain't the way you act about somebody who's dead. You want to know why you ain't got the Kennedy files today? Because the people responsible, at least some of them, are still alive. That's why you ain't got the Kennedy files, or the MLK files, or the RFK files, or the Malcolm X files. You don't have those because at least some of the people responsible are still alive. And that there is information that directly ties to them. And why can't you find out? Because the people who have the files are the people that are in charge of the investigation. The people in charge of the investigation are the guilty parties in the files. The NYPD, the FBI, the CIA. Once you start walking down those rabbit holes, Please remember, y'all, he was not involved, but Minister Louis Farrakhan is still alive today. So any of y'all thinking that all the folk from that era are dead, Minister Farrakhan is still here. Jesse Jackson is still alive. A bunch of them folks who were sitting around Dr. King are still alive. So those are the folks who were around King, even though some of them are suspected themselves. You don't think the perpetrators are still alive? The folk in government responsible for those things, you don't think they're still alive? Are you kidding me? They are covering it up because the guilty parties are still there. At least some of them. They're still there. They're still around. And just like they protected Carolyn Bryant, people, come on now. I'm not making this up as I go along. There's precedent for literally all of it. There's precedent for literally all of it. They ran interference for Carolyn Bryant till the day she died. Now, Carolyn Bryant wasn't Jeffrey Epstein. Why did they run interference for her? Did Carolyn Bryant know something? Could Carolyn Bryant point the finger at other people and say they were involved too? And so all of them said, we better keep her on ice till she's dead. And now there's nobody that we are aware of yet that we can go after. But please remember, the government got involved with covering up for her and hiding her. Right up until we all found her, and then they continued. They couldn't pretend anymore, so then they just had to come out with it and say, yeah, we covering for her. Don't you understand that this is a long-running thing? This is the government. This is not an exception to the rule. This is the government. And they've been doing this for a while. And the whole job is to have you sitting up here seeing it right in front of you, and you are still in disbelief. Even when confronted with incontrovertible evidence, your reflexive response is, no, they would not do that. I mean, yeah, they've done all this kind of stuff before, but they wouldn't do this. You don't have anybody you can go to, man. You don't have anybody you can go to. The whole damn thing is co-opted. That's what I'm telling you. The whole damn thing is co-opted. By the way, there was something else that Whitney Webb was talking about.
There's a lot of question marks there. No one can interview Alfredo Rodriguez now about why he chose to circle Trump's name or Briatore's name or any of these other figures. Courtney Love was also a circled name.
Interesting. What do we think that's about? She was there.
Hard to know. Some authors have speculated that, through her father, who was a road manager for the Grateful Dead, that she was sort of brought into this weird circle of intelligence link stuff, since authors more recently have sort of pointed to that band. And law partner Stanley Pottinger has kind of a suspect history, sort of acting like the Democrat equivalent of William Barr, which is basically a mop-up man for government scandals over the course of his lengthy career as a lawyer working on behalf of the government in the Department of Justice. So there's a lot of question marks there. No one can interview Alfredo Rodriguez now about why he chose to circle Trump's name or Briatore's name or any of these other figures. Courtney Love was also a circled name.
Interesting. What do we think that's about? She was there.
Hard
She
to
saw.
know. Some authors have speculated that, through her father, who was a road manager for the Grateful Dead, that she was sort of brought into this weird circle of intelligence link stuff, since authors more recently have sort of pointed to that band and some of these other groups in the 60s of having, CIA and other suspect connections, and sort of that a lot of the 60s counterculture was engineered for various purposes. But
Now, folks, this isn't Ian Carroll anymore. This isn't Candace Owens, by the way. This isn't some of them. Yeah, a lot of folks here are not understanding that people, all of these societal movements and whatnot, there is only one. Listen to me. There is only one that was operating outside of the government's direct control, and that is ours. The descendants of the American slaves who broke into freedom. We are the only group that started a mass movement that wasn't engineered by the CIA and wasn't controlled by their operatives. They had to infiltrate it, but it wasn't something that they started. And who did they start killing in mass? Just ours. You know that the so-called women's suffrage movement was a part of the government. How many women's rights and women's suffragists did they murder? How many did they assassinate? So that tells you that that was not a threat to the government. That was a part of the government. They didn't treat anybody the way they did us. So the women's suffrage movement, they want the right to vote. The government was behind that, as we all know, to get women into the workforce, to get them into the economy. And so we can go ahead and grow this thing, because if you're going to be a world superpower, you need all hands on deck, all bodies up front. And so next up, hey, if you're going to have all these kids, remember, they don't give a damn how they get here so long as they get here. So here, to your daughter, start smoking some drugs and start having some crazy, wild, reckless sex. And what happens in the 60s? So-called, after World War II, the so-called baby boom, a bunch of hoes and sluts of every stripe and variety having kids out of wedlock, however it can be. So married, unmarried, legit, illegitimate, we don't give a damn. The ones who work out, they go into the workforce and go into government. The ones that don't work out go into the prison industrial complex, and we make money off of y'all one way or the other, for the successful kids or for the defective ones. And if you don't believe me, how in the hell did those become multi-billion-dollar industries? With the government right there to make sure that moved into position. Wait, Jason. Oh, see, this is how they bend your minds. Wait, Jason, wait a minute. There's a contradiction in there. Come on now. You think it's a contradiction. I'm ready for you. I'm ready for you. You ain't ready. Let me talk. Jason, the government was behind the eugenics movement. Yes, they were. That was eliminating black babies. Yes, you're right, you pickaninny. But you saying that the government was also on the other side, wanting to make as many kids as they could. Yes. From the back of the slow bus with your crayons. I'm just wondering if you can put this together quickly enough. You can name call, but that don't mean nothing. In the chat room, comment, got it. Yep. Kimmick got it. What did Brother Neely Fuller teach us all? White supremacy always takes both sides of the argument, so that no matter which way the tides turn, it goes to benefit them. They tell you that they hate interracial sexual access, and then you turn on your televisions and they're constantly pushing interracial sexual access. They tell you that they hate the drugs, and then they flood your neighborhoods with the drugs and the Biden-based pipes. They tell you that they don't want you to have abortions, and then they put an abortion clinic in every neighborhood. Need I go on? White supremacy has perfected the art and strategy of taking both sides of the argument, both sides of the movement. We were the only one that they couldn't do that with because we're the only one they didn't make or directly influence. They had to try to infiltrate it and deconstruct it. But at the end of the day, we were against the status quo and still are. So we have continued to be an outrageously horrible obstacle in their path. Yes, illegal aliens, you all name it. Whatever issue you think is a hot button issue in society. No more pornography. You need to have plenty of porn. Watching too much TV, television in every house. Stop driving. Brand new cars, $50,000. Housing is too expensive. Here's affordable housing, Section 8. Sit down, stand up, shut up, speak up. What did Brother Neely Fuller teach us? What did Mr. Louis Farrakhan teach us? Confusion, confusion, confusion. A population that is constantly confused. What's a man? What's a woman? So every time you turn around, they're constantly trying to confuse you. You don't know if you're coming or going. Okay, well then by definition, what that also means is that there are always people who are either coming or going. On Pierce Morgan, they were just talking about what's his name, Brooklyn Beckett, the son of what's his name, the soccer star David Beckham, Brooklyn Beckham, and David Beckham and his wife. And there was this black chick from London, listener. She was sitting there. Now Brooklyn Beckham was complaining because his mom, Victoria, he says that when he was marrying, Brooklyn says that when he was getting married, his mom, he put out this statement talking about his mom was at the wedding and he wanted to dance with his wife first, but his mom busts in and she wants to dance with Brooklyn first. And then his mother was grinding on him.
Nigga, what?
I'm not saying that. He said that.
Nigga, what?
I mean, that's what he said. His mama was grinding on him and dancing very inappropriately. Okay. And then they had this black chick on Pierce Morgan talking about what was the big deal and Brooklyn is being immature about it. And what's wrong with your mom having some fun? You need to just get over that. And Pierce Morgan didn't push back on it at all, by the way. Just one more thing, by the way, Pierce didn't push back on that at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can go ahead and find that right quick, because there'll be folks who'll be saying, no, there's no way that they said that like that. There's just no way. No, that's exactly what happened. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and get that up for you all right quick so you can hear it for yourselves. I know it's like if you had dinner already, this will make your tummy start doing flip-flops. But of course, they put her up there, and Pierce, of course, is not going to say anything. He's not going to say anything to push back on that, because, of course, that would be, different here. Okay, let me go ahead and play this right quick. I found it. Yeah, too bad for y'all. And Jason, you ain't got to do that. Yes, I do. By the way, fair use, Pierce. If you didn't want this coming out like this, you should have said something when you had the damn chance, dude. So, fair use. Fair use. And like I say, I don't know who this chick is. I'm not sure who she is. Yeah, I'm not sure who she is, but Pierce had talked to her. He had a panel of folks up there, and of course, they wanted to drag Kanye into it for some strange reason I don't understand.
Whole family estranged. What's happening?
I have this theory that American women that marry into prominent British families are like a secret nuclear weapon, and it's a form of terrorism, domestic terrorism, that is being imported onto the British Isles. Because this always happens. I think in the case of Brooklyn, he's so
Caribbean or Nigeria, y'all? Which one do you think? Caribbean or Nigerian?
grateful. This is someone that tried to convince people when he was moonlighting as a chef that they should boil pasta with seawater. Because somehow people want brown floating things in their pasta. And he's only been able to do that because his parents, as much as he doesn't like the fact that they have commercialized their name to the high heavens, have been able to give him that kind of platform. Now, I know that the Beckhams, like, they speak money first. I mean, David Beckham got in trouble during the Qatar World Cup for volunteering his commentary. And members of the LGBT community was like, oh, he's an icon. Why is he doing this? Homosexuality is illegal. Because money comes first. And this is something people need to understand about the Beckhams. Anyone who's been in their orbit knows that that's what matters. But at the end of the day, being a Beckham has afforded Brooklyn Beckham all these benefits. And I'm sorry, all of his grievances are quite pathetic. So what if your mum was shaking her ass at your wedding? Okay, she hasn't done this since the Spice Girls. Give her some grace. If she wants to grind Pondy dance floor or grind on you, she can do that. She gave birth to you. Like, his grievances are so pathetic. And the reason why I had to draw parallels with Prince Harry is because they have no grace with their family. It's kind of just this grievance economy they exist in. If someone makes me
Yeah, I let that go past the point where she said, so that you all know, oh, I didn't exaggerate what she said. You heard that. If your mom wants to grind on you, so what? Well, Jason, you exaggerating. She didn't really say it like that. Y'all gonna quit trying to test me about when I tell you that this is what folk really said. No, that's exactly what you heard her say. And as I told you, Pierce didn't stop her at all. Y'all know Pierce. He's real argumentative. Not today, he wasn't. He wasn't arguing today. He didn't push back today. Now, the only one who did was the American fellow over here on the right, the fellow with the beard. He says that later. But y'all just heard that. So that's why I'm asking y'all, where her people from? So, yeah, man, this where we at. You think we're going to get the damn Epstein files and you think the internet's going to save us? And these people who came from broadcast TV, this is what they're bringing to the internet. This is what they're bringing to the internet. And she just told you in no uncertain terms, if your mama wants to grind on you, what's the big deal? And you think that she's not okay with Epstein Island?
Nigga, please.
After what you just heard, do you think that she has a problem with Epstein Island? I know. Information overload. Y'all like, Jason, you done dropped too damn much on us tonight, dude. It's too damn much. But I had to go into detail. I had to go into withering detail because this is where we at. This is where we're at today. The United States of Epstein, the whole government's been co-opted, man. There ain't nobody clean anywhere around here. At the local level, they got them. The state level, the bigger your state, the worse it gets. They got them, man. They got them. They got them. That's just it, man. They got them. So you ain't got to like it. I didn't say you have to enjoy it. You don't have to want to hear it, but this where we at. This where we at. I didn't tell you that I had any good news. I didn't say that. I told you all that tonight on the Black Channel, I'm going to tell you where we're at, but I didn't tell you I had good news. I never lied to you about that. I can't even tell you that the good news is that there's no more bad news. I can't even say that to you because we haven't heard the end of it yet. They're just letting this slowly drip on out, and so you can see how far this really goes. They're just hoping you don't ask about degrees of separation to other people, because if you start asking that, well, it gets even scarier. The question is, anybody, especially in the last decade, who was on the way up, they're in it. Whether they're black, white, male, female, Jewish, Gentile, you can't get bogged down and confused in that. These people want you confused so that the sons are having sex with their mamas and the daughters are having sex with their daddies. And those of you who like doing that, you're going to do that. And those of you who resist it, it'll be a scandal. And either which way, whether you love it or whether you don't, they win. They win. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and post the Zoom link here to the top of the chat room. You are all allowed to go ahead and give us a call, and you can weigh in on it for yourselves. That's an option that is available to you here. I know I've given you a lot. I get it. I know it's been a flood of things, but I wanted you all to hear it from the source first before you got confused by all these other people who are not operating in your best interests. At least you got it from the source first. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. But before we do, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Third Eye Open. Thank you, brother, soul brother, for your thorough and detailed analysis. Thank you very much for your support, brother. We appreciate that here tonight. Shout out to Nancy. Thank you very much for your support tonight, sister. We appreciate that. To my man, Mr. Richburg, Andrew L., Mark B., to everybody in the Super Chat who's been giving out memberships tonight, Alyssa Bay, Logic Before Emotion. Thank you all to everyone here. We appreciate that as well. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break here. When we come back, we will get your calls on Zoom and more. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening as we are discussing, Jeffrey Epstein ran the government. He ran corporate America. You haven't even scratched the surface. You haven't even scratched the surface, man. This dude was off in the game deep. And the more they dig, all the folks who were claiming they didn't know nothing, they weren't a part of it, they were all just hoping that their file wouldn't come up. They were all just hoping, well, surely they didn't find my messages. Yeah, they found yours. And what I'm telling you is that they were obviously just hoping that Epstein didn't keep this many documents, that it wasn't this detailed. Epstein had files on everyone. You don't do that if you planning to die in prison, people. You keep those kind of records. You don't keep that kind of voluminous, meticulous records if you ain't like, this is my damn insurance policy. Just in case they think they gonna come after me. Oh, this is my insurance policy. I got all y'all names. So just in case you ever think you gonna turn on me, I got everybody. Let's go ahead and see if we can jump on Zoom right quick here. We got some folk calling up here. Let me see if I can get Brother Shakir on Zoom. What's on your mind?
Hi, Jason. I ask myself this question, all the time during your monologue, and I kind of answered it for myself. Understanding hidden information is a tool for navigating social complexities and managing risk, and in some instances fostering deeper social connections. But for everyday FBAs, what is the practical value of delving into the clandestine affairs of the dominant society? You mentioned Carolyn Bryant. We knew about her. We weren't able to do anything about it. We already know that these people are a low moral nature. So what you said was very interesting, but what is the practical value of it? We're not going to have a revolution. We don't have any power to do anything about it. It's just very interesting information.
Okay, well, there's only so much I would say on a place like YouTube. So, like I say, I'm going to leave it up to other folks there. What I will say is that they're still smarting over the George Floyd uprisings, and we're the only people who have responded in that way. We're the only people who said the ballot box or the bullet. We're the only ones who've ever responded in that way. So I'm not going to sit up here and be doing a bunch of details and stuff on a place like YouTube. I'm not going to do that because the feds are sitting in the room with us right now. So what we will or will not do, the bottom line is we will arrive at those answers ourselves. The revolution will not be televised and the tactics will not be broadcast. So whatever solutions understand something, we're not talking to each other because we're not coming to a solution. We're talking to each other specifically because we are. We're doing this specifically because we are coming to a solution. And when that solution arrives, everybody else will know. Now, when you're talking about what's the good of us knowing about what the government's doing, their clandestine activities, I would reverse that and say, if that has no value, please tell me why the government has made sure to do everything they can to know about our clandestine activities ever since before you had electronic communication. They wanted to know what was happening on the plantations back during antebellum slavery, and you didn't even have electricity. All messages had to be sent by hand, had to be written, and yet they wanted to know our, quote, clandestine activities. So if that doesn't have any value, okay, why was it so important to them? I will give you a more practical answer. Why do you want to know what the government does and how it does it? Because these are tactics. And you can resist tactics. It's hard for them to fight when they're blind. So when you start learning their tactics, then you start plugging holes. There's a reason why the mafia became progressively more difficult to prosecute, the drug cartels progressively more difficult to prosecute, because they paid attention to the damn tactics. And once they started getting them, then they started plugging holes. So, for example, when you got a group of black folk here, and next thing you know, y'all really need to bring in this non-black person over here. And everybody from the Black Panthers to Nikki Barnes, what was ultimately their undoing? It wasn't the black folk in the group. Oh, that's a tactic when they start telling you be open-minded to folks outside your group being here. Oh, that's a tactic. Let me go ahead and plug that hole. Oh, y'all, it ain't no party unless we get some drugs. Okay, well, let me plug that hole. Well, you need to loosen up. I don't need to be that damn loose. That's a tactic. Oh, here come the hoes. All right, that's another tactic. So the real thing is when you start telling yourself what these folk won't do. Well, I mean, the CIA ain't like they got a bunch of hoes on call. Yes, they do. I ain't got to worry about this chick over here. I met her at the club. Are you sure about that? Who introduced you? Who spoke first? Did you talk to her? Was she just looking at? No, I didn't talk to her. She talked to me first. Okay, you set up. She didn't talk to me first. I talked to her. Why did you talk to her? Well, I noticed she was looking at me. So I just walked over and I was looking around. I noticed she was looking at me. You see how they got you? So now people talking about honeypot operations. Why do you think that was such a thing in the USSR in China? So what I'm saying is these are tactics. So in law enforcement, the CIA, the State Department, they teach their people tactics so that you look out so you don't get got like that. These are tactics we need to be aware of. Everything from electronic surveillance to social surveillance to social engineering to reeling you in. Do not tell yourself that they will not have women, men, the drug party that you were at, the rap concert you were at. You have to assume that nothing that happens to you is accidental or coincidental. Now, when you start responding like that and you question everything, it becomes a lot harder to get you. And remember, they don't just want one person, they want the whole group. So you need to know their tactics because very soon after that, you'll start identifying them.
Well, I think, what we've been through the 60s, Martin Luther King, and all that, we're kind of abreast of what their tactics are. As you were going through your mind,
I do not think so, actually. I think that's wrong. Here's my issue. About the Lorraine Hotel. People, I've always had questions about that because that don't make no damn sense to me. That has never made sense to me since I was a child. So this is an education for you here, Shakir. We were not aware of the tactics. Number one, did Dr. King think there'd be a sniper for it? But second of all, how did James Earl Ray know he was in that particular room? And that James Earl Ray needs to be in another building over here across from them, and that hotel's got 2 or 4 sides to it. How did James Earl Ray know to get himself in a building right there where he needed to be before Dr. King? How did he know that?
Maybe Jesse Jackson tipped him off.
Okay. Well, he would have to call him up and say, hey, I'm checking in this room over here. So how would he know that? That right there has always, everybody's talking about bullets and stuff like that. And okay, you missing the damn point. How did you know? If you wanted to snipe somebody, it's like, okay, you have to be in a specific position, or you'd have to know he was there and then you show up later and you just have to hope there's a room available so you can be right where you need to be. Come on, man. At a certain point, it's like, hold on. So what I'm saying is that under normal circumstances, that wouldn't have happened. Because logistically, it couldn't have happened. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think we were thinking like that. I don't think we were thinking that, no, dude, when you check in, they're going to check somebody else into another room right where they can get you at. It's like, we heard about this kind of stuff happening in foreign lands, right here on American soil. Yeah, right here. No, it's not that serious. Yeah, it's that. He'll have to run up on me in a crowd like they got Malcolm. Or how they got, Lincoln. He's going to have to run up on me somewhere. Nope. We're going to use military tactics on this one. And by the way, Dr. King taken out by a sniper. JFK taken out by a sniper.
Medgar Evers?
How did they know? How did they know? How did these people know exactly where to be in the right place at the right time? I don't think that now you saw JFK get took out. Okay, well, he's the president. Sure. MLK, it's like, I'm on that level. I do not think that Medgar Evers or JFK or Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, or we can go down the list, Fred Hampton, I don't think that they were thinking like that. Not at the time. I'm worth a sniper. I'm worth the logistics, all that. Yeah, you are. After you got all those people that march on Washington, yeah, you're worth it now. You sure are. And I don't think that we were thinking that way at that time. If we had known that that's how serious it's going to get, folk would have moved differently.
It reminds me of the Temptations' Ball of Confusion. You were talking about white people taking both sides of the argument. And my final statement would be, I remember as a young adult, we used to always observe a dog chasing cars. And the situation was, we asked ourselves the dog is chasing the car, but what's he going to do once he catches it?
Well, I guess it depends on who the dog is.
Thank you for your
If
time.
the dog is a poodle, that's one thing. If it's Clifford the big red dog, if he caught the car, that's the car's ass. Thank you very much for giving us a call here. Yeah, folks, like I say, we have had to evolve to realize how seriously we are taken. I don't think that the Black Panthers thought that the federal government thought that we were worth hundreds of millions of dollars to flood the neighborhoods with drugs. What black folk were thinking, okay, well, they done sniped at us after MLK, so okay, we gotta watch out for snipers. So you see our responses to these things evolved over time. On the slave fields, when you knew you could be lynched, okay, we got to fight back against lynching. They bombed the Black Wall Streets, okay, you got to watch out for that kind of thing there. They sniped the Dr. King, okay, we got to load up with guns, and the Panthers are standing on the steps of the state building. Then next thing you know, they flood the neighborhood with drugs, so you see the tactics changed. You thought that you initiated the drug habit. And it's like, oh no, this is the Opium Wars 3.0, not even 2.0, 3.0. This is their latest iteration of the Opium Wars. It worked in China, and now they're going to use it here. Oh, they would never do that on American soil. Why not? Well, this problem's going to spiral out of control. White people will get caught up in it too. Well, these people are really desperate, and the white folk who get caught up into it, as far as they're concerned, they consider those to be the undesirables. This is just culling them off. And by the way, y'all, for the most part, that was accurate. If you notice that the illicit drug trade was, white folk did the drugs, but they didn't really get caught up in it because they were basically exempt by law. No, it took the legal drug industry to get them. It took prescription drugs to get them. Not illicit drugs made by non-corporate. It was the corporate drugs that got the dominant society. Not even the illicit stuff. The corporations got them. But when it was the illicit stuff, they kind of had that contained to a large degree. Now, eventually it started increasing, but the current drug epidemic that's got them, by the way, that wasn't the illicit trade. That wasn't the illegal trade. That was the pharmaceutical trade. So as far as they're concerned, the tactic was successful and controlled. As far as they're concerned. Yes, you need to know the tactics and strategies of your adversaries, because When you can identify them, you can stop them. This is why don't follow any leaders who tell you it's okay to be doing drugs. We have seen this before. You can't follow or trust somebody who is inebriated. He's already fallen into their hands. I don't care how cool you think he is or how straight you think he is, or, well, he ain't really intoxicated like that. We've seen that before. When you start recognizing these things, fellas who do skirt chasing, relentless skirt chasers, low-key interracial sexual access obsession. We've seen all these other operatives who that was what snared them. At the very least, they were untrustworthy. He thinks he met this white woman because he's so fly. Dude, she was sent here. And you're an easy mark. So we can't follow you anymore. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Vault Tech up here right quick. I'll see if we can get Vault Tech up here. Vault Tech, make sure you're paying attention here. If you're not, we're going to have to move on here. All right, Vault Tech, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. I'll give you 3 seconds here, and then we're going to go ahead. Well, 5 seconds. We're going to have to move on. I can give you 5 seconds for that, and then we're going to have to move on. Your microphone is the button in the lower left-hand corner of your screen there, and that's the microphone button. Not going to be able to wait around all night for that. Make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. I'll give you 5 more seconds, and then we're going to have to move on here. I'll give you 3 more seconds, and then we're going to have to move on here. I can give you 1 more second, and then we have to move on here. All right, Vault Tech has been abducted by the Fallout people. So the Fallout people got another one. The Fallout people got another one. He thought he was safe. Ain't nobody safe. Not gonna be. Shout out here to Walter, Mr. Rucker, Najee, and everybody else here who has contributed for tonight's program. We definitely appreciate that. Let me see if I can get Richard up here on Zoom for me right quick. All right, Richard, what's on your mind?
Your comments about the staff, a lot of that stuff, those assassinations were going on. They knew that the feds were surveilling them, and they knew, but they crossed the line. What happened with King when he came out against the Vietnam War? You don't step on the international stage and get on that stage with globalists. Same thing with Malcolm X. When he went over there and was talking to those Muslims overseas, you get in areas, Fred Hampton, when you hit a sensitive areas, you're toast. And unless you got like bodyguards like Ibrahim Traore, they can take you out. So,
well, I mean, certainly, I think the situation is, remember, these were young men. First of all, let's be clear. These were young men. They were in their 30s. You go out, talk to the average 32-year-old today and see how vigilant he is. The other thing is, I just don't really think that at the time that they understood the magnitude of it, that this is how serious of a threat that they take you. I think Dr. King thought he was going to get got, but not by a sniper. I don't think he thought that's what it was going to be. I think he thought it was going to be, I think that what they were looking at was what happened to Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, that you're going to get ambushed somewhere. You're going to get caught. They're going to try to catch you in a sundown town, some place where they have you outnumbered. So think about that in that regard. If you have the mindset of they're going to try to catch me, like King, he had been arrested by the police a bunch of times. Remember, they would kill black folk at the police station. So I'm thinking that they were more of a mind of, even in the military, they teach you this, you're usually fighting the last war. So wherever you went to war last, you're kind of thinking the next place is going to be a template of that, and they're going to innovate on you. So I think in Dr. King's case, he's thinking about, okay, if they get me, it's going to probably be at the police station, probably like they got Emmett Till. They're going to try to get me off by myself somewhere, and then, he had an accident. Something like that would happen. But remember, on the day he got killed, it was one shooter and a group of black men. So technically speaking, quote, you got them outnumbered. But so this is a change in tactics.
Well, it's like that program they had, Judas and the Black Messiah. You got people in your camp. Jesse has always been messy in that situation. And that famous photo, I remember when they're pointing out, all those guys are pointing the wrong direction. That was supposed to be an army sniper. I've heard people say that FBI, Jesse was an FBI informant. That's why these people, like you brought up the point. That's why they don't let this information out. There's still people alive that are guilty, that are culpable for all these things. So,
well, I'm not sure. I know a lot of folks talk about what direction they're pointing in and stuff. I'm not so sure about that, to be totally honest. However, what I will say is that, remember, the federal government, up until the 1960s, their disposition towards us was benign neglect. So that the problem we had was the federal government wasn't doing enough or doing anything. The 1960s show up, and all of a sudden, remember, our experience with them was that they're not going to do anything. So the problem is we can't get the government to do anything. You get to the 60s and now, okay, brother, hold on. Okay, brother, I'm going to have to mute you. I'm going to have to mute you if you're not going to respect the host. So I hope we're not about to have that issue.
Okay.
Let's not get that excited.
Okay.
Up until the 1960s, we had a very passive, neglecting federal government. So our experience, the habit, our expectation was that the government's not going to do anything. What that will lead you to is an expectation that the government won't do anything, either positive or negative. They're just going to be completely non-interventionist, especially when they need to intervene. So when you get to the 60s and y'all get active, you might be lulled into thinking, well, the government's not going to get involved. They're just going to sit back and it's going to be me fighting the state. And hopefully I'm good enough to fight against the state. And I don't think that they understood, the federal government has changed. It has decided to become very activist where you are concerned. So yeah, they tearing stuff up overseas, but domestically, they've decided to become very active. This was something that we hadn't previously had to deal with. An activist federal government working against us. At the state level, that was one thing, not the feds doing it. Also, remember, this is after Kennedy. So you're dealing with desegregation of the schools. So it's like, okay, Brown versus Board of Education. So to a certain degree, it looks like, our activities with the government is they're doing it, but they're moving real slow. This idea that the government would become militarily adversarial the way the states had, that was new. It's the 60s that introduces to us, hey, this is the federal government's gotten involved and they're against you. That was a new thing going forward. Now, since then, we've taken that as a given, but that was not our experience before the 60s, so I can understand why they might have been a bit passive about that.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead now.
They accused him of being a communist. We were in a Cold War. I mean, you had to be, I was there. We were in a Cold War, and they accused King of being a communist. J. Edgar Hoover was deadly against him. And after the Kennedy assassination is when all these nefarious elements really came into play. So yeah, it definitely was some things going. Yeah, we were on the radar screen.
Okay, how many so-called communists was the federal government executing in the streets like that at that time? Name two.
Well, they called King a communist and Fred Hampton a communist.
Okay, sir, let me try this one more time. Before Dr. King, please name for me two so-called communists that the government didn't like that they executed in the streets like that. Name two.
Well, they didn't execute Powell Robinson, but they accused him.
Okay,
you're right.
Sir, they didn't do that to anybody. So once again, as I just said, this was a change and a turn in the federal government's behavior. They hadn't been doing that before us. Next thing you know, they introduced, we're new colors, new style, new trends. Well, this is a tactic we use now.
Well, we weren't a threat. Like, again, when he came out against the Vietnam War and they saw the power he had in that March on Washington, and he was the first major figure to come out against the war. Nobody else did that. And that was the line.
Yes, but there were black folk who were threats before that. However, the method in which they would get rid of you is we going to catch you slipping somewhere. You're going to drive somewhere. You're going to be at home alone or something. So you notice the usual ways, the ways in which they got Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, and the way in which they had gotten black folk before, they couldn't get Malcolm and Martin that way. because Malcolm and Martin were prepared for that. Malcolm was standing at the front door with the rifle. Why? Because that was the way he had seen black folk killed before. Remember his father. Remember when they burned the house. So those older tactics of the old days, they had actually, that wasn't what got them. It was some stuff we hadn't seen before.
They were prepared for the crackers, but he had Malcolm X had Bumpy Johnson protecting him until he just called him off.
Well, the real thing is about tactics. They were prepared for the tactics they had seen in decades past.
Well,
what they didn't realize is tactics were about to change. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I just understand that tactics change because white supremacy evolves. Up until that point, the government had responsibilities that they had neglected. So you were dealing with a neglectful government. This idea that you would show up in the 60s and all of a sudden you're up against an activist government. The government, that was the part I don't think they were ready for. The government's like, yeah, we're going to use some of these tactics we use overseas. We're going to use them domestically. And once again, please understand, white society sat back and giggled. Yeah, deal with them niggers over there. And the next thing you know, the government starts using those tactics against them. So the lesson for white society is everybody needs to be protective of the foundational community, because any and every abuse that you have allowed your white supremacist government to use against us, they have eventually turned it on you. Denial of our civil rights, denial of our human rights, denial of our First Amendment rights, denial of our Second Amendment rights, denial of our Fourth Amendment rights. There isn't a single thing that they have used against us that they did not eventually migrate over to the white society and start using it against them. And they had them sitting there kikiing and giggling and smirking. And that's right, them niggas over there. And then, wait a minute, police surveillance state. And we're just like, yeah, the surveillance state's been here for a century. Remember, you voted for the politicians to use those tactics against us. So we recognize all these tactics because, yeah, you've been letting them use it against us. Hey, folks, tell me, who were they using electronic surveillance on domestically? Now, you had the mafia and organized crime in America for decades, really a century. However, you didn't hear about domestic electronic surveillance until we get to Dr. King and Malcolm X. Then all of a sudden, you're hearing about domestic wiretapping, electronic surveillance, video surveillance. Even though the mafia had the goods on J. Edgar Hoover, the bottom line is those electronic techniques, oh, no. They cut their teeth using those techniques on us. We're the ones that every time they got a new weapon, a new device, a new gadget, oh, we're going to go test this out on the niggas. We're going to go test it out on them. And white society sits there and giggles and, yeah, that's right, get the niggas to business. And then the government's like, yep, that's right, we're going to get into business, then we'll get to you. Oh, you Negroes, you don't have Second Amendment rights. Yeah, that's right. Disarm the niggas. Violent, crazy anyway. It's like, by the way, Susie, let me get that gun from you too, Becky. Wait a minute. You're violating my rights. No, rights are an opinion. When you let us abuse the Negroes' rights, those were your rights you were giving up. But of course, we would never come at you first. You got that white privilege idea and all that. So no, we would never come at you first. We're coming for you last. But you're still on the list. And so what do you know? Complete disregard of the Constitution. Hello, Dick Cheney. The Constitution is not a suicide pact. Hello, Dick Cheney. What about our rights? So? But you see, that was just the federal government saying, okay, the stuff we've been doing to the black folk over here, now we just do it to everybody. Well, you know, you should have been defending our rights then. They wouldn't have been able to go this far with you if you had acknowledged our humanity as the canaries in the coal mine. They never would have gotten this far with you. But you see, when we took to the streets to fight back against an oppressive government in the grand tradition of the founding fathers of America. Oh man, did I go that deep with it? In the proud tradition of the founding fathers in America. Don't tread on us. Well, who was it who came to the government's defense? Oh yeah, the rank and file in white society came to the government's defense, not the defense of freedom and democracy, the defense of the government and injustice, bragging that they were somehow on top of stores. Remember that? Bragging that they were on top of stores somewhere during the LA uprising, while they were bragging about their willingness to support injustice and the order. Had they done the opposite, you'd have a different society today. Had they done the opposite. So you see, they locked arms with the government, believing that, yeah, we're here to be the agents of injustice. And now the government is like, by the way, hand your daughters over here. We're having some fun this weekend on Epstein Island. And just like the white women suffragists, hey, y'all releasing the niggas and we ain't got these rights over here. It's like, yeah, chattel slavery is over and white slavery has begun. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein and all of his clients, they don't like dark meat. Yeah, we could grab the black females because, you know, they disappear all the time and whatnot, and who cares about them, right? But yeah, we got a taste for your white daughters here, and they ain't got no rights. They don't have any rights. And yes, the federal government will get together and lock arms and declare, ain't nobody know what happened to your daughter. Oh, well, it was just Epstein. Yeah, all them dozens of folk came to his island. Yeah, ain't nothing going on there. You can't cover this up. Of course they can. You let them cover up the murders of black people now for 2 centuries. You've let them cut their teeth on this now for 2 centuries. They are old experts at this now. So for you, man, this is just routine business. When you defended them violating our rights, you were giving them permission to violate yours. And that's where we are today. And I am not going to tell you all necessarily that this is good. What I am going to say is, by the way, how does it feel that finally you get to see how we've been living because of you? And now it's your turn to suffer, because if we cannot all be equally comfortable, damn it, we all gonna be equally miserable. That's exactly what it's going to be. Ain't that right? And deal with it. This This is what everyone being equally suffering and equally miserable and equally uncomfortable feels like. It feels like this. Police lying, judges lying, politicians lying. You got witnesses and videotape and folks lying and telling you I'm white and I say so. Well, this is what it feels like to be us on a national level, and it's so unsettling to them because they know anybody can get it. Yeah, because we've been the only ones getting it up until now. This is what it feels like. What you did to us, this is what it feels like to be this. And for them to feel helpless and nobody's going to get punished for it. Yeah, welcome to our existence that you have been supporting and enabling and in many cases enforcing. It feels like this. And it ain't going to get better because you built this system of injustice over the course of centuries. So you're not going to be able to disarm this and dismantle this within a year or two. That ain't happening. Furthermore, you made these folk the richest people on the planet. You see, we've been calling out Elon the Afrikaner Musk now. For over a decade, we've been calling out Elon the Afrikaner. White society was okay with it up until he came to the White House and started getting really buck wild with it. We've been calling him out now for over a decade. How is it that all of a sudden now they want to call him all kinds of names and racist and anti-Semitic and this, that, and the other? And we were saying nobody was with us a decade ago. None of them were backing us a decade ago. Folks were telling us we were silly and stupid a decade ago. Oh, y'all just crying racism and victimization all the time. Now today, all of a sudden, I'll be damned. So all these folk who were ignoring us for the last decade, what were they doing? Were they just blind? No, they were in on it. They're not blind, people. Everybody sees it. They only want to acknowledge these things when it's convenient. When it's convenient for them to acknowledge it, then all of a sudden they want to stop playing dumb. Here's the problem. You have already empowered the villains. It's too late to act dumb. Elon, richest man in the world. Sergey Brin, Bill Gates, and the rest of that damn list. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th richest people in the damn world. You've already empowered them. The time to fight them was when we sounded the alarm a decade ago. You could have stopped him then. That was the time to move. Now you think you're going to divest him of that now? How many Epstein Islands do y'all think are out there now? I want to ask you a question that you all have never asked before. Do you all really think that Jeffrey Epstein was the only plug? What? How many Epstein Islands are out there? When I'm talking about is ones these people have already made contact with. Do you think that Jeffrey Epstein is the only person with a secret naughty sexual island that Elon Musk knows? Do you think Jeffrey Epstein was the only person that Bill Gates knew with an island of naughty delights? Larry Ellison just finished buying another island. All these billionaires, now you know why they want these islands. You think they just want some solitude and to be alone. Oh, hell no. Ain't nobody gonna be able to tell what's happening over here. So, folks, do you think that Epstein's the only person with a naughty island out there that these guys know? You really think he's the only one that they know? They know a bunch of them. They know a bunch of them. He's just the one that got caught. Those of you who've been to predominantly white colleges, you know what they do on the weekends. You know what they do on spring break. You know what they do when they go down to Mexico, down to the Virgin Islands. down to Central America. Y'all know what they do when they go down there? It's on and popping. So don't be deceived into thinking Epstein was the only one with an island. These are the richest people in the world. They know folk with islands all over the planet. Jeffrey Epstein was just the Jewish one. How about the Asian ones? How about the Arab ones? How about the Chinese ones? How many others out there? They have their network of people, and this is what they do. And they have been engaging in the flesh trades now for millennia. It's a scandal in America. These people got contacts in places where it's not a scandal, nor is it against the law now. It's legal now. In those places now, it's legal. They just need to make sure they can get in and get out with nobody knowing that they got in. We're talking about parts of the world where this stuff is legal. You ain't even got to sneak around about it. It's legal. And those are the people in charge. But then again, you know what? You've always had degenerates in charge when they can tell you that we're only 3/5 of a person, when they can watch our children get killed and tell you George Zimmerman was cool people for that. And we're going to celebrate that kind of thing. Daniel Penny is a hero. These people have always been monsters and animals and degenerates. And the only time the dominant society wants to acknowledge it is when the animals decide to chew on them for a while. So, yeah, you fed these monsters. You fed them till they got big and fat and strong. And now they're too big and powerful for you to quickly defeat them. You might defeat them, but it's going to be a hell of a fight. Because you had a taste for monsters and a liking for monsters when you thought they were only gonna victimize us. Well, you were fine with these monsters then. Now that their monstrosities have decided they got a taste for you, now you want to rally the troops. Now we need to mobilize. Now it's gone too far. A little late for that now, ain't it, Jack? So get ready for more files. And oh yes, one more thing to make sure it's very uncomfortable. By the way, you sitting up here hollering about Jeffrey Epstein. You know what? Jeffrey Epstein has been the greatest gift in the world to all the other traffickers. Everybody's eyes are on Jeffrey Epstein and all the other folks out there commandeering the planes, navigating the plane traffic, the boat traffic, setting up the rendezvous. Nobody's talking about them right now. Hell, you can't even get Epstein. The other folk out there making things happen, nobody's talking about them. I want you all to just think about that for a little while. All the others out there, and nobody's talking about them. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I know it's been a super heavy program. Take heart, my brothers and sisters from around the world. Jason, what do we do about that? It is now more important than ever that we all stick together, that we maintain our code of conduct. We don't let people suck us off into their weak, degenerate beliefs. We're not going to go for abortion. We're not going to go for incest. We're not going to go for debauchery. We're not going to go along with the garbage and the crap. We're not going to do that. That's what it means to have a code of conduct right there. It's not just that we all agree we black. We all agree on how we live. Because I can't watch my back if you are in league with folks who are outside of our interests. You can only watch my back if you got my interests at heart, and I can only watch your back if I got yours at heart. That's what it means to be a people, and that is our greatest defense against all that. When outsiders attempt to victimize us and our children, when we are not of their mind, we will recognize them every time they show up in our midst, or every time they try to influence it. We will do the most important thing we can do. We will tap into our culture of resistance. When everybody else sits up here and starts surrendering and shuffling their feet, and they get on Pierce Morgan talking about it's okay for your mama to grind on you, we start resisting. We will not be moved. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the new Black media, the haven of intelligent Black thought. I am your anchorman, the Black Authority. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And thank you all for being on code. This concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.